Hello, welcome back to Galaxy Grudge Match. In the last part we explained and went over a basketball game between Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes and Thanos and the Black Order.
But now, we're gonna see what you had to say about the fight before sharing with you the ultimate verdict.
First up, we have a comment from Batman.
No. Bow, wow.
Okay, so it's a basketball game. Thanos has the edge in physical skills, and some of his powers can be useful. Plus, he should be way taller than all of them. On the other hand, the Looney Tunes gang has way more experience with basketball, and their Toon force can confuse Thanos. I might give it to Thanos.
I have some thoughts on this. Doing some research, I found out that Thanos is only an inch taller than Michael Jordan, at least in the comics. Besides that, I suppose both of us pretty well went over this. I will say that Thanos actually has been susceptible to cartoony or weird shenanigans before, such as when Squirrel Girl, Lockjaw, and sometimes Deadpool have gotten some over on him. Not to mention the Superhero Squad show.
I suppose in a debate such as this, though, height rarely matters. Besides, even if Thanos has been occasionally susceptible to cartoon antics, it's rare that he gets put in that scenario, and that whole Squirrel Girl thing turned out to be a fake Thanos in the end anyways. And Deadpool really just kind of cucks Thanos.
Meh. Well, not literally, but Death would rather date Deadpool than Thanos. And Thanos might just be saying that thing about Squirrel Girl just saved face.
Anyways, next point. Bring it to us, editor.
This one comes from Ray, aka Meatloaf Man.
Yee. Personally, I'm hoping Michael and the Toons can pull off a win, but I can definitely see the argument for Thanos and his children taking it. I feel they might just be able to pull it off due to the argument of them being comparable to the Flash, and also being used to messing with guys like Thanos. Sure, Thanos has seen some weird shit in his days in the Marvel Universe, and is strong in his own right to fight the gauntlet, but I'm uncertain if he can prepare himself against foes like the Looney Tunes who are practically unpredictable. Alright, I had some thoughts here too. In terms of unpredictability, while it's true the Looney Tunes would be hard to predict, I don't think it would ultimately matter if Thanos and the Black Order just stick to the game of basketball, and don't fall for any duck season, wabbit season stuff. As for speed, while the Roadrunner and even the Coyote outsped the Flash, in that moment, the Flash was clearly not going at his top speed. We all know what his top speed looks like.
Still, with Thanos' weirder showings and the Looney Tunes and DC crossovers, I think this does show a precedent for these sorts of things happening. These two teams can both be inconsistent, but I think the difference is that the Looney Tunes inconsistency relies more on what's funnier. And as I've mentioned a few times, Marvel is willing to let Thanos look a fool.
Bah, I don't think we should decide the verdict on what's funnier, or who people like more. That's what got Lobo to lose to Wolverine in the DC vs. Marvel crossover. I think we need another person's point about now.
Lobo was paid to throw it. But anyways, you are right about one thing.
One thing? Why, I gotta...
Right here we have a comment from Brandon.
Yo! After some of my own research, I found out that the Black Order member Ebony Maw has the ability of persuasion. He can control his opponents to do whatever he wants, and he's strong enough to even control Doctor Strange. I think that should be enough to control and defeat the Toons.
Yes! Finally a point I've been meaning to bring up since the video. The Black Order are way more potent than you believe. You merely joked about how unknown they were, but they each have their own specific powers that I want to go over. First, as Brandon said, Ebony Max can persuade people, even highly intelligent ones like Doctor Strange, who you even compared to Bugs Bunny in the video. He could simply make them froze a match, and unlike Thanos, these guys don't want to lose. As for the other members, Black Dwarf has immense density and impenetrable skin, and Supergiant has telepathic abilities.
I have a few problems with this. I'll admit that this could be a very good tactic, temporarily. Firstly, I don't think he could hypnotize everyone at once, though having two of them helps. But a cartoon will probably have really obvious tells that they're hypnotized, like those big bugged out swirly eyes that will let the other players and Adam Warlock know what's up and tell them, "Hey, don't fucking do that." You may think that the cheating in Space Jam means that this would be allowed, but you'll note that none of the cheats in Space Jam were, "Oh, it looks like I instantly win now." Just temporarily bashing and beating on each other, which is just silly. If Ebony Maw or Supergiant try this, Adam Warlock will throw them out of the game. And one of the few rules in Space Jam was that if you don't have enough players, you had to forfeit the game. And I don't think Bill Murray is going to come in and join the Black Order. If they're smart, like you said they were, they won't do this. As for the rest of the Putty Patrol, their powers mostly amount to, they're strong and stuff, and maybe they have a strong weapon. Not much different from the Monstars, really.
Cheating is still cheating, Ducko, no matter to what degree. If you cheat in a sport, you're out. So you can either have no rules or all rules. If there are strict rules, then sure, no mind control. But also, no shooting people, or driving scooters on the court, or doing anything remotely cartoony that would be an attempted murder in real life. It just has to be them playing the game, which Thanos and the Black Order will be able to succeed with since, as he stated, they have like a week of prep time to prepare for the game. And even when Michael Jordan taught the Toons, they aren't able to help themselves from cheating.
Maybe the rules of Looney basketball are just different, huh? Ever consider that? Maybe shenanigans are allowed, but no insta-wins. That's just fucking boring. That's why the Infinity Gauntlet is disallowed too.
So now we're just assuming the rules are completely different because it's a cartoon?
I mean, that's how it was in Space Jam.
So Thanos and the Black Order can reduce them to ash? That happened to Foghorn. We're dwelling on this point, actually. Should we move on?
I suppose. But Thanos likes chickens. He wouldn't be so callous. Besides, Foghorn came back from that. But anyways, yeah, next one. This next one comes from Ribbit Theater. I like to think Bugs, Daffy, and the other Looney Tunes could use their manipulation tactics seen frequently throughout their cartoons to trick Thanos into misinterpreting basketball's rules, scoring in his own net or making him think that the point is to stay away from the ball, for example.
As I said before, Thanos was given around a week of time to learn the game on his own. He ain't asking Michael Jordan how to play the game, as funny as that image is. Anyways, since they're given time to learn, I can't see them falling for Bugs being like, "Hey Doc, you're supposed to throw the ball in the hoop on your side."
The circumstances of their prep aren't certain. I mean, the Looney Tunes gave the Monstars a book that led to them doing the basketball tournament so that they had a chance to not be slaves anyways. Who's to say Bugs Bunny didn't give them a rulebook that said all the wrong things?
I'd almost agree with you there, except for the fact that Bugs Bunny actually gave the Monstars legit rules, and didn't show any hints of regretting that. He never even tried to mislead them. Perhaps Bugs thinks the game should be fair? I'm not sure, but he'd definitely just do the same thing he did if he wanted to give Thanos a book.
I mean, it was a book that he altered with a marker, and besides, we often forget that this is not just a basketball game, it's one for the fate of the universe. So really, I think Bugs Bunny would be willing to mess around in that way if it was to save all of existence.
Perhaps, but Bugs is also known for being pretty sure of himself. It's entirely possible that he'll just let him know the real rules, so that he can prove that he can beat them. There's also the fact that Thanos and the Black Order aren't obligated to follow the book. Thanos is free to, like, check the internet or something, which I could see him doing if he got the feeling that the walking, talking animals were lying to him.
Yeah, but this is 1996. The internet's kinda shitty and slow.
Regardless, I don't see Thanos being fooled so easily. Anyways, next point.
Now we have Proto. That's his real name. Ignore what that says.
For Galaxy Grudge match, I had say Thanos will take it. The Looney Tunes do have better team experience, and they're very unpredictable, but Thanos has taken on teams before like the Avengers, so he can handle them with difficulties, and he has faced Deadpool, who is also very unpredictable.
It is true that Thanos fought the Avengers and the other Marvel heroes before, but this goes in multiple directions. One is that, even in these serious contexts, sometimes the heroes are able to get one over him, at least temporarily, and even after everything gets destroyed, it just gets reset anyways. Most Thanos stories are like this. Oh, I've got this big, powerful cosmic MacGuffin. Now I destroy you all. Oh wait, someone else came in and slapped the cosmic MacGuffin out of my hand. Now everything just gets reset back to normal. Even if Thanos wins, he loses. That's why it's Marvel comics and not just Thanos comics. That's why they're still making Spider-Man and Black Panther sequels. Thanos isn't really allowed to remain permanently threatening. He's just kind of there to seem powerful and then get dunked on. He can win battles, but not wars.
I think your biggest flaw in this debate is that you're looking at this from a perspective of, if the creators of these characters made a crossover, what would happen, as opposed to what would probably actually go down in a fight. You mentioned his MacGuffin always getting smacked out of his hand, but that point doesn't matter here, because he ain't got the gauntlet. He wins regardless, though, at least in my eyes. As for what happens if Thanos erases everything, sure, it would eventually come back because Marvel needs to sell comics, but that would still be a tactical win for Thanos even if it doesn't last. If he wins the basketball game, he wins, even if anything after that gets thwarted eventually.
I will say that my view on this is because, well, again, there's inconsistency on both. But there's precedent for them depicting both Looney Tunes versus serious comic book characters, and even Thanos in this sort of manner. So the inconsistency could possibly favor the Looney Tunes. Again, Marvel is willing to make Thanos look a fool. But I'm repeating myself now.
Soon, we're gonna run out of arguments, so we should start wrapping this whole thing up soon. As for my brief thoughts on inconsistency, when they are both consistent, Thanos is usually way stronger. I think inconsistency has made him stronger on some occasions as well. but I feel like I might have said this before. So let's move on.
Finally, we actually have a video response from Young Samurai 18. We'll have to cut it down a bit, but we'll briefly go over his main points.
First off, Thanos, as pointed out by Ducko in the video, he kinda throws matches if it doesn't really work. But I mean by that is, he kinda subconsciously wants to lose to his opponents. He might start like throwing the match, like he might, like one of his players might throw the ball to one of his players, but it gets intercepted by one of the Looney Tunes or something. I don't know.
I already know Max and I disagree on this. I think with the fate of the universe on the line, yes, this does apply, at least somewhat.
As I said before, Thanos doesn't want to lose to Bugs Bunny if he's making a fool out of him. Also, the Black Order don't want to lose in general, I say.
The fact is also, the Looney Tunes, they don't obey the laws of physics at all, or the rules of anything. They could jump out of the fourth wall, they could effectively rewrite the comics, or whatever it is they're fighting in, to end it the way they want to do it, and Thanos would let them. And also, remember, if you ever seen like the movie, the Space Jam, here's the thing. Michael Jordan not only got into the act himself of like extending his arm out to like dunk the basket.
This could potentially be a big thing. Maybe Bugs, Daffy, and Elmer could jump out of the medium, or even pull out a Marvel guidebook and read up on Thanos and the Black Order, and their strengths and weaknesses.
I also already brought this point up. It could possibly change the game, but that's only possible if Bugs, Daffy, or Elmer escapes the cartoon, which I highly doubt since Thanos blitzes them. Also, as for physics, remind me of the last time you saw a talking duck who's a detective. Other than Ducko regards to talking ducks. You know what I mean. The Marvel Universe is most illogical as well.
It is illogical in some respects, but not consistently cartoony. And as I stated before, Thanos can be susceptible to these things sometimes. In fact, I'd say he does worse there than in serious contexts.
Sometimes, but not all the time. Sometimes Daffy dies by decapitation, and sometimes Bugs loses to turtles in races. What's another point in this video, preferably one we haven't discussed yet?
The Monstars they basically siphon the talent from basically the, I think, 4 or 5 other best basketball players of the era. If they can do that and still lose, what's a gang of people that doesn't even know how to do the basketball until like the last few minutes or so? I don't know how long they got to actually perform. I'd imagine they have like at least a few days. That's not really enough time to master the game. That's enough to know how the game works, but not enough to basically get yourself like into the groove, pretty much.
We gave Thanos some prep, but basically he'd be about as good as some random kid playing horse, maybe. I'd agree with this, obviously.
I mean, the Monstars may have stole the power of good b-ball players, but they still weren't playing too perfect. They just pretty standardly dunked hoops and used their strength and stuff to hurt the other players.
They were beating Michael Jordan and his team for a bit, but still, they eventually lost. All the Looney Tunes had to do was drink tap water.
I think if you put a b-ball player against a fire-breathing giant-ass monster, still probably won't matter too much. I contest that Jordan was much better skilled than them.
Of course he was! He won, didn't he? Plus b-ballers are mighty warriors. Haven't you played Michael Jordan in Chaos in the Windy City? Shaq Fu? Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden?
I don't know if Space Jam took those into account. What's the next point anyways? Are we almost done?
Don't be rude!
And also, the referees, they might be more than willing to get Thanos either disqualified or basically get the advantage kind of shifting towards the Toon squad. So really, it's like, I'm not saying they're gonna win handily, but like at first they're gonna lose, but they're probably gonna be able to get something done.
I know for sure that Adam Warlock will be heavily biased, but I don't know about Marvin. He's tried multiple times to wipe out humanity, so if Thanos was trying to do that, he'd probably just be like, "Go get him, champ, isn't that lovely?" Plus, he isn't even friends with any of the Toons. They always fuck with him. He'd have more of a reason to support Thanos because he doesn't know them, and he knows what jerks the Toons can be sometimes.
If that's the case, then why didn't he throw it for the Monstars? They were trying to enslave the other Looney Tunes. If the Looney Tunes are all just dead, he's basically out of a job too.
Cause he'd be a bad ref if he just threw it in for them. Granted, he's a bad ref anyways for allowing people to get shot on court. Something tells me he and Adam Warlock may not see eye to eye on the rules of basketball. as I imagine Adam actually knows the real rules, while Marvin just knows his flawed cartoon rules.
Just like we don't see eye to eye on this matchup. Nevertheless, I think that's the last of the points. So, let's get to the verdict and try to agree. Eventually.
Alright, so, me and Ducko are gonna go argue inside a public restaurant, come back, and tell you who we've agreed won. Meanwhile, here's the poll results. They aren't really being taken into account.
Okay, Max, I don't think that was a good idea since we got kicked out, but I think we can decide this.
We may have lost the ability to go back to the Galactic Space Denny's for this, so this better be worth it.
I will say what I've been saying. Thanos can win, we will say. He does win the basketball game. However, it doesn't end there. The Toons looked up at the scoreboard and were saddened to find that, by just 1 point, they had lost the game.
No! What are we gonna do? Bugs! You gotta do something!
Bugs, however, was barely fazed by this loss, keeping a calm face.
Guess we should have trained harder, eh?
What's going to become of the world? Aren't you afraid?
Don't worry, I called a friend in case this had happened.
Thanos smirked, as he and his Black Order chuckled. No amount of support will protect you from this. The Infinity Gauntlet began to lower down to Thanos' grasp. Adam Warlock had a depressed and horrified look on his face, while Marvin just stared blankly, before stating,
Oh, goody, the Earth is going to be annihilated.
Thanos got his glove, and with a snap, half of all life in the universe began to fade. Alongside this were the Toon Squad.
Thanos may have been a little picky-choosy with his snap.
All seemed to have gone perfectly for the Black Order, as it began to cackle, until a foot tapping was heard on the court.
Hey! I don't think that was very nice of you to do!
Thanos turned around and saw Mickey Mouse. For once, he looked absolutely frightened.
You do realize that wiping out half of the universe means wiping out many of the people who would go see Disney and Marvel movies, shows, comics, all that? Do you want to be out of a job? You'll never be a cosmic villain in this town again!
Thanos nervously stuttered.
Besides, those were my friends over there who you just erased. I thought your big snap thing was supposed to be fair. I demand that you bring them all back at once. The entire half that you just took away.
Mickey shouted as he stomped his foot down. Thanos relented. While the Infinity Gauntlet was indeed powerful, for him, there wasn't anything that could affect his reality more than Disney itself. Thanos snapped his fingers again, and everything seemed to go back to normal, right to before Thanos and his crew ever went to Looney Tunes World. The Black Order merely went past the planet. Saya, wasn't that the planet? No, it's up ahead somewhere. So there you have it. Hopefully this ending didn't disappoint. I mean, did you really think I was gonna let the Looney Tunes stay dead? Did you think that Warner Brothers or Marvel would want it like that?
Wait, who won exactly? Thanos? Was it Mickey Mouse?
I guess we'll say for the purposes of the record that Thanos did win, since he did win the basketball game.
But, as to be expected, Thanos' victory didn't last long at all, especially when he got the highest power in the world upset.
So now it has been settled, and I suppose all is right in the universe once again.
So now, I suppose it's time to expose what that hint of yours meant. What is next?
Well, you may recall I said masked men, but which masked men?
Y'all ready for this?
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.